You want to know what 30 years feels like? Close your eyes and picture the opening statements of the O.J. Simpson double murder trial. You can see it, right? It's like it was yesterday. Now open your eyes, because that was 30 years ago this week. And the trial would last until October. October. And I don't have to tell you the verdict. That is all ancient history now, right? Surely there can't be any more new bombshells or smoking guns this many decades later. The defendant himself is now dead. Or are there? Because Netflix says you bet. They just dropped a docuseries featuring people who say that they saw things that should have been introduced in that infamous trial, but never were. Check it out.
Going nuts. Gonna beat the shit out of me.
My brother was returning Nicole's glasses and was slaughtered to death.
I was the last person that saw O.J. before the murders.
There was more evidence than I had ever seen in my life.
A lot of witnesses didn't testify.
I recognized his voice.
I witnessed him discarding the murder weapon.
I've seen a lot of the evidence ignored.
Nobody could anticipate what would happen next.
I am pleased now to welcome Cato Kalin back to the show. In 1994, Cato was O.J.'s house guest and one of the star prosecution witnesses at what we then called the trial of the century. Cato, thanks so much for coming back. It's good to see you. I'm a little alarmed about this new revelation. Who are these witnesses?
Well, before I even start, I want to say my heart goes out to the family, the victims, of course, the D.C. plane crash. So I just want to start with that my heart goes out to that, because it's horrific and saddening. And but back to your question, Ashleigh, is one of the witnesses was named Skip Junis, and he was on the podcast I do with Tom Zenner called 1 Degree of Scandalous. He saw O.J. in the limo, and he recognized O.J. because he was getting out the limo, and his wife worked for American Airlines for handling celebrities, and he saw his hand go into a garbage can after getting out of there, about to the elbow. And when he had done our show, and so I had goosebumps. I had the spine-tingling feeling of, why wasn't this guy called in as a witness? And then you got Jill Shively. Jill, who also is on the podcast, sees O.J. with his lights off in the Bronco, running a red light, almost crashing into her. And the amazing thing is, Jill remembered the license plate number without writing it down. She knew it. So she called it in. So there's already a record of it being O.J. Simpson coming back from off of Bundy. So you assume it's coming from the scene of the crime. It's just two of the most powerful witnesses. I thought, yeah, the crime in Brentwood, right, coming back off Bundy, that she was almost hit by his car, and she heard the voice of him yelling at the other person that almost hit him. And I was like, how could this not been in the trial?
So, okay, to be clear, Jill Shively says she recognizes O.J. driving a white Bronco, and just FYI, Al Cowling had a white Bronco too, so don't think that O.J. didn't have one. They had matching white Broncos. She says that was near about a half mile from the Brentwood scene, and that, she nearly got into an accident with him, and that this was sort of in the realm of time that the murder might have happened. And Skip Junis, you mentioned, this was actually at LAX, and he said this was sometime around 11:30 that night. He gets out of a limo at LAX, and that's significant because he wouldn't have been in Chicago. He would have been in LA. So why didn't these people get heard? Why are we talking about them now and not then?
Exactly. I wish I knew the answer. I suppose it's because the prosecution was already, establishing their case and putting, step A, B, C, and maybe that wasn't part of the plan to put them in there. How? I have no idea. They're such credible people, too. I've met them and talked to them. And it's amazing that Skip was in his Miata behind the limo at LAX at that time, and someone going into a garbage can, but not just throwing something in, putting their down by the elbow, putting something in to the garbage can. And you can think of what that might be. Is it the murder weapon or not? But, I mean, no. Have you ever thrown out something in a garbage by putting your hand down? You want to get dirty? No. You just toss it out. And Jill, just the knowing that get the license plate number and knowing that it was O.J. and hearing his voice yelling out of the car at that time. Actually, I think this goes on because I was a big part with the timeline. And this shows you everything is about a timeline, and that It just matches perfectly with the timeline. And, you know,
Well,
OJ's dead now. We'll never know.
We'll never know, but I will say this. Marcia Clark apparently didn't want Jill's story because Jill had sold it to hard copy. Jill says that she regrets every day of her life. She's had guilt ever since. And Skip Junis says he called prosecutors. No one ever called him back. And says that later he was told they didn't think that his story could be corroborated, which is just shocking. I have like 5 seconds left, but I literally 5 seconds left. Would it have altered the course of history, Cato?
Yeah, I think so. I think history was coming off the Rodney King case. I think OJ, I saw the jurors, and I think in my heart that he was going to be innocent no matter what. So as far as changing history, I can't answer that. I do know one thing. I live for today and paying it forward and always making sure my present and my future is going to be the best and best for everybody else. And that's all we can do.
Well, it's a new Netflix docuseries. I can't wait to watch it, and I always love having you. Thank you, Cato. It's good to see you.
I'm binging on Sunday with my wife to watch it. See ya.
All right. Take care. Cato Kalin joining us live tonight. One of the biggest true crime stories of last year led to the single most viral moment in the 4-year history of this show. When Luigi Mangione was arrested in December for the murder of Brian Thompson, CEO of United Healthcare, he was briefly held in Pennsylvania till he was sent back to New York. His lockup was called SCI Huntington, and NewsNation's Alex Capriello was reporting live outside its walls just after his arrest. When Luigi's fellow inmates saw Alex and his lights, they yelled out their windows that they were watching this show. And soon after that, I realized that if I asked them questions live on the air, they might just hear me on the TVs they had in their cells, and maybe they'd answer me out the windows, which led to the most bizarre interview I've ever conducted.
Earlier today, I was reporting outside this prison wall. Oh my gosh. I'm not sure if you just heard that, Ashleigh. That was them screaming.
I just waved. Alex, I just waved, and that was the...
Can you hear that?
Hi, guys. Say hello to Alex Capriello.
They said, we got you, Alex. Ashleigh says hello.
I can't believe this.
There they are. I can't tell if you can hear this.
Oh, we can hear it. Was dinner good, yes or no? Rest assured, gentlemen, we can absolutely hear you.
But
and
isn't that interesting, Ashleigh?
You got your interview. Is there doing the strobe light for us? Was that the strobing was for us? If you're just tuning into NewsNation right now, this is the prison inmates at the SCI Huntington watching our show and responding by turning their lights on and off to show us that they are, in fact, watching and responding. I take it back to that moment because a news site called the Prison Journalism Project has put up a first-hand account of what happened after that night. It was written by an inmate named Vaughn Wright, housed in the C block at that prison, and Vaughn writes, Banfield started posing questions directly to the prisoners. I haven't heard voices here raised in such raucous unison since Feb 2018 when the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl. Though it was hard for Capriello to hear anyone shouting from C block where I live, I suppose people relished the moment to have a voice. Joy Bell Phelan is one of the staff members of the Prison Journalism Project. She herself was incarcerated twice for a total of 7 years. She joins me now live. Joy Bell, thank you for being here. What else did Vaughn write about that night?
Thank you so much for having me, Ashleigh. Vaughn wrote about his experience. That's what we try to do here, and while Luigi was in his prison, what things were like for all of the men in that prison.
So what happened after that raucous night? Did the hammer come down?
It sounds like it. You've read what we've published. We reached out to Vaughn right after your story. We realized we had a writer that could tell us something of what was happening inside. And so Vaughn very much talked about what his observations were. That's what reporting is. And so it was about a chance to share what they were living in while it was happening.
Let me read a little bit of that. This is what you've got from Vaughn. The day after the NewsNation interview with E-Block aired, the prison's deputy superintendent threatened everyone in the unit, particularly the guys on the street-facing side, with time in the hole if they yelled from their cell or blinked their lights for the media again. Freedom of speech suppressed? Check. That's quite something. Do we know if it happened anyway? Because the next night they did yell from the windows.
Vaughn hasn't said. We haven't heard from anybody else at the facility. He does still have tablet access, which is how we communicate with him. We have heard from a couple other writers at that facility, so messages are still coming in and out. Perhaps not on the same unit. I can't verify that, but I think information is still flowing.
Well, Joy Bell, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm going to have you back again. We've had a lot of breaking news, so we didn't have as long an interview as I would want, but will you come back again?
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
So appreciate it. Joy Bell Phelan is a writer, relations manager for Prison Journalism Project, and she's also a former inmate, so she knows a lot about what she's speaking. Whenever there's an untimely, unnatural death, investigators look first at spouses, and boyfriends, and girlfriends, or best friends, AKA the people who are closest to the victim. In the death of Autumn Mercado 2 weeks ago in Utah, that person was Carlos Mercado, her husband. Autumn's body was found at the bottom of the stairs of the family home by the police. They'd been called by a worried co-worker at the hospital where Autumn worked as a nurse. It seems that she hadn't shown up for work that day. And when the cops arrived at her home, they say her husband was there and muttered to them, "I was just going to call you." They say he was so drunk that he could barely stand and that he admitted to having found Autumn at the bottom of the stairs himself hours earlier, but didn't call the police. They say instead he told them he went off to buy beer at a gas station, leaving their young kids home alone with the body. I know what you're thinking. I'm with you. But here's the thing, and it is a very, very big thing. Carlos claimed that he thought she was alive and that she had just fallen down the stairs from vertigo after drinking till 4 or 5 in the morning. So he says he covered her with a blanket, not realizing that she was dead, and then went to get the beer. I am not sure if police are buying his version of events. They are calling Autumn's death suspicious. And though Carlos is not charged with that, he is charged with child abandonment and failure to report a death. And as it turns out, he's been charged before. Reports say in 2022, he was found guilty of assault and domestic violence in the presence of a child. In 2021, he was charged with the same crimes, but the prosecutors never made contact with the victim, a victim they ID'd as his wife, Autumn. Back in 2019, he was found guilty again of third-degree felony aggravated assault against his then fiancée, a woman named Autumn. I am joined now by Autumn Mercado's sister, Summer Christiansen. Summer, thank you so much for being on the program, and I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this, not only a terrible loss of your sister, but then these odd circumstances. Do you believe anything that Carlos was telling the police?
No, I do not. How does someone, if they fell down the stairs and they're still asleep, if you love them, how do you not pick them up? How do you not put them on a couch? How do you not cuddle them, put them back in bed? I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I know he hasn't been charged, but I don't know.
When you heard that he said he went to get a beer after discovering Autumn and putting a blanket on her, what went through your mind?
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's gross. How does any human do that to somebody else? Not only to a sister, a mother, a daughter, but to their kids, and leaves them with the body sitting at the bottom of the stairs where the kids can actually see her. It made me want to throw up when I found out. I can't fathom it. It's a nightmare, to be honest with you. It's like we're a family, we love hard, and we're living a nightmare.
The issue of his priors was so alarming. How much did you know? How much did Autumn share with you what was going on in her relationship with him, the amount of abuse she was dealing with?
So we did not know about the abuse to the extent that now that she is passed, you know, people are coming forward, telling us that Autumn confided in them. I think Autumn was protecting him and not wanting us as a family to think anything different of Carlos. And she's protected him so much. He didn't protect her at all. We did not know it was to this degree. I mean, she was slashed with a knife. She got her teeth knocked out. We did not know. But it was always, you know, oh, I fell riding a bike. It was an accident. You know, you start to hear certain things and then you start to believe, but we didn't start, I guess, seeing certain things until closer to now. We had no clue.
Did someone tell you that they knew that he had pushed her down the stairs before?
The answer is yes.
And the police know all this right now?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
So, you know, obviously what his story is that Summer had been drinking heavily till 4 or 5 in the morning, and that he thought she just, you know, got vertigo. I don't know why vertigo connects with the drinking, but that she'd fallen down the stairs. Did Autumn drink at all?
Autumn did drink, and I would say this, you know, regardless of whether they were drinking or not, the whole thing is that if she did, so if it was accident, he pushed her, whatever. The point is that she was laying at the bottom of the stairs, and he thought she was asleep. The kids saw her, and you don't pick them. I bring it back to, you don't pick her up, you don't cuddle her, you don't fold her, you don't check her, you're not worried about her, you leave her there. You go get beer. So, you know, whether they were drinking or not, Carlos was still conscious enough to contact the Uber, go and get beer, pay for the beer, and then still come back, make it up their stairs and come back home. And, you know, if she's at the bottom of the stairs, you're walking over her to go upstairs. You're walking over her to come back downstairs to make food for yourself. I mean, I don't understand. And the kids were still there.
How could he step over her like that? It's the whole thing is so alarming. I'm going to watch this case closely. Honestly, Summer, there could be more charges, obviously, in this case. Right now, they've got him on these other charges against leaving the children. But, you know, stay tuned. And I hope that we can talk to you again. And again, I'm just so sorry for your loss. Thank you for sharing the story with us.
I appreciate the time. I do, you know, I just want to say, though, I do want Autumn to be remembered for the mother that she was, for the nurturing person that she was. She loved hard. She had a big heart. And not only was she beautiful on the outside, she's beautiful on the inside. And she was a nurse. So if you were being taken care of by my sister, you knew by her demeanor, you were going to get great care being in her hands. But the one thing that she loved most of all was being a mom to her 3 beautiful children. She loved being a mother. And I want Autumn to be remembered for the person that she is and the way I just described her, than being at the woman at the bottom of the stairs where her kids saw her. That's not fair to her. She's beautiful.
Well, we are sending our prayers your way, Summer Christiansen. We'll continue to watch this story. And again, thank you for telling us your story. I also want to tell our viewers that if you find yourself to be a victim of domestic violence, or if you know others, help is available. Just call the National Domestic Violence Hotline. The number is 1-800-799-SAFE. Again, 1-800-799-SAFE, 7233. Your school principal is your pal. You ever hear that? It's like actually a spelling trick, because the word principal, the person, ends in P-A-L. And principal, the idea, like, oh, he's well principled, that ends in P-L-E. So I learned that in elementary school. I think you might have as well. And it just happened to pop back into my head this morning. Principal, your pal, and principal, principled. And it's because of Roosevelt Elementary. That is a school in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And they have a principal. Her name is Elizabeth Hill Brodigan. And she must have seemed like the pal of the century to more than 100 Cocoa Beach teenagers who, according to police, partied themselves sick at her house the weekend before last. One teenager apparently got so sick that paramedics had to come and treat that kid right there in the front yard. And what did Principal Hill Brodigan do about that? Police say she turned off the outside lights. And that forced the paramedics who were treating that underage patient to have to do it by the light of their rig. What a pal. And it gets better. And by that, I mean it gets worse. Another young party guest was arrested at a nearby traffic stop for DUI, and still others allegedly phoned in bogus reports of gunshots at a skate park to try to distract the police from the principal's party. Did not work. The principal, a 23-year veteran of the school district and one-time Teacher of the Year, I'm not kidding, Teacher of the Year, she was arrested, and she was not alone. A third-grade teacher was also there. And according to the police, that third-grade teacher was intoxicated, so she gets a before and after picture, too. They were both charged, by the way, with child neglect and contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And tonight, both of them are on administrative leave. I think that is the least of their worries at this point. And this is where I bring in Alexandra Kazarian. She's a criminal defense attorney and former public defender in Los Angeles. She's also very good at research. So Alexandra got her hands on the affidavit, and I haven't even seen it yet, so spill the tea. What's in it?
Oh, my goodness. You know, when I first heard about this story, I thought, it might have been just one of those situations where a parent thought they were doing the right thing by having a party and letting the kids do what they're going to do. And I'm going to be here just in case anything happens. But that is not what happened in this affidavit. It reads like the script of a junior hangover movie. It goes from bad to worse to the worst thing I've ever heard. Apparently, there are allegations that not only did she know about it, but that these parties happen 1 to 2 times per month at the house, that her sons organized the ragers and advertised it on Snapchat, that there were possibly up to 200 underage students there drinking, that she was there before the party started, starting at about 7:45, helping set up for the party. She was well aware of everything that was happening. I mean, it's the worst allegations you could possibly have against a teacher or any parent in this situation.
And it's not just a Teacher of the Year either. Like, as an administrator, as the principal of a school, principal, you know these things. You know so much more than just the rank and file teachers about the exposure to doing this kind of thing. I also, tell me if this was in the affidavit. I found this detail, and I want to make sure it's accurate, that the kids apparently had matching T-shirts and party favors. So, like, the planning was extraordinary.
Yes. It says that most of the kids were wearing matching T-shirts, that it was well organized, and that she was there at the beginning to help organize it. So yeah, it's not good. It does not look good. There are allegations that there was a student actually at the party that was making Snapchat videos with a weapon. They described it as a Glock, and that the kid posted it to Snapchat, but the police officers weren't able to get a copy of the video. There were multiple fights that broke out. And it also gets worse with the student that needed the medical help, because when the police officers arrived, at one point, they put him in the back of the car so that they could transport him to his parents. And somebody, it's not clear if it's the principal or the third grade teacher, came out and started yelling at the officers that they were putting a child in a machine and to get their hands off of the child. I think that was a third grade teacher, because it said that the defendant in that situation was quite intoxicated. It does say that the principal was not, though.
Okay, so a double question. I'll just come out of both barrels here. I just keep thinking, like, exposure. I mean, criminally, what a drag. But also, what about civil? Like, how many of these 100 kids' parents can sue her, the third grade teacher, and maybe, I don't know about this, can they sue the school system? Because this did not happen at school. It happened, at a private home.
So you can sue anybody for anything, but the question really is, what damages do you have? What are you going to be able to prove happened as a result of this? So sure, parents can make a claim that their child was put in a dangerous situation and that they should get compensation for that. But how many of these parents actually knew the kids were going there and maybe blessed it because it was at the principal's house? The kids that actually got DUIs, that went to the hospital, that maybe came home intoxicated and had to go see a doctor the next day, anything that has actual documentation about injuries that they faced or illnesses that they had, or God forbid, criminal charges that came out of it, those parents absolutely can sue the family that hosted the party. Hopefully they've got good homeowners insurance so that they can make a claim off of that. And if the school was aware that she was hosting these parties, that's where you can get the school on the line. That's where you can get damages from them for negligence. If they knew that there was an administrator that was welcoming students or underage, kids from the community to her house on a regular basis and they didn't take any action, that's where you can get the school district for negligence.
Man, oh man, oh man. I cannot believe the utter stupidity if all of these allegations are true. Alexander Kazarian, thank you, not only for your amazing analysis, but also for doing the digging and getting the affidavit. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.